This is a tour of David's fish room, and I thought I'd show you around. This is actually the view kind of coming in the door. I have basically two racks. There's one here, one right there. The rack on the far wall there has 18 10-gallon tanks. This rack has space for 8 20s. There's currently only 5, and then there's a couple other tanks which I'll show you. But all the tanks are on their own system, which I'll show you as we go through here. As you walk into the room, there's a little area over here for just doing stuff. There's a refrigerator for the brine shrimp eggs that I have. Plenty of clutter, as you can see. I have a utility sink here, which is kind of nice. And this is in my basement, so this is where most of the water drains to. There's a sump pump right there. The sump pump, as we'll see, is where the water drains out when I change water in tanks. All the tanks here and all the tanks on the other rack drain over to these 3 tanks over here. Actually, it drains into this bottom sump tank. The dirty water comes in through that pipe, the one there, right there that I'm showing you on top, drains into the, if I can get the light on here, drains into the sump, and there's the filter that it drains through. I have 2 pond pumps in there that push the water back out. These 2 tanks that are on top here, this big green one right here and this big green one right here, are 2 45-gallon tanks that I use for fresh water. Right there where you see that valve coming out of the ceiling, that's where the water comes in from the house supply. Drains into this tank there. I don't know if I can get up there to see, but there's water in there that drains in there from the house supply. There it gets treated. It's not heated, but it is treated. This water here comes down from the top bucket through that valve into this middle one. In the middle one, it is heated and ready to go. So that way, when I need water in the bottom sump, I just open that valve right there, and then I can put heated and treated water into my sump. Each of the tanks in the back have a little valve back there. They're drilled and they all drain into PVC, as I said. These little pieces back there can rotate, so if I want to change the level of the water, I can just rotate it up or down. There's filters on them, so hopefully the fish don't get sucked out of them. But if I want to do a water change in just one particular tank, I can make this thing go level, the water drops, and then push it back up, and then through the supply there that's coming into the tank, it fills it back up. If I do that with a lot of them, obviously there's more water going into the sump than's coming out. This pipe right here that I'm showing you is just a little bit above, actually it's just a little bit below the waste pipe. So when the sump fills up to a certain level, it overflows into that pipe, which then goes under the rack into the sump pump and then out. So I can change water that way, or I can just open that valve, the black valve right there, and the pumps then are pumping water directly to the sump pump and out, where then I can fill it from the 2 tanks above and get fresh water. If I need fresh water for any other reason, I have some tanks upstairs that I can use this red valve right here just to get fresh treated water out of the system. The system is on 2 sets of lights. If I kind of open this up a little bit here, there's a little just regular bulbs back there. I think they're only like 15 or 20 watts. They're not very bright, but those come on in the morning before the big fluorescents do, just to kind of prevent the fish from being shocked awake. As I said, this is in a basement, so when it's dark in here, it is pitch black. There are no windows in this room. So those come on first, and then I think it's 15 or a half hour later, the big fluorescents come on. At night, it does exactly the opposite. The little lights come on, the big lights go off, and then they sit that way for a while, and then it goes pitch black. Do have a nice little neon aquarium light over there, which I got with tax money, oddly enough. There's this pipe right here that I have this hose hooked up to. This is just a piece of PVC that has a hose running through that's glued in there. So when I need to clean the bottom of the tank, there is no gravel in any of these tanks, it's just painted. I can start the siphon on this hose right here, go through the tank and just kind of sweep it up, and then all the water that goes into this pipe here from the tanks goes into that pipe, the drain pipe that goes out to the sump pump as well, which also helps me do water changes, as that obviously lowers the water in this sump, which then I fill up with fresh water from up there. These are the 20-gallon tanks. I have an African butterfly back there that's pretty cool. I also have a couple of littler tanks with just some miscellaneous in them here. I'll kind of zoom in. This tank is full of little mini crabs. Thought they were kind of neat. This tank here is the home of a little baby tarantula. He's right there. It's a little baby, well, it's not focusing very well, but it's a little baby rose hair tarantula. He's kind of fun. The other thing I have behind the rack, I'm behind the racks now, is the betta setup. And in the betta setup there's a piece of drain pipe here, just regular house gutter, that has the bowls in it for the bettas, and there's water supply coming out of these pipes, or at least they're supposed to be, and drains out of the cups into the gutter, and then through that valve right there, or through that drain right there, into the drain, which then drains out to the sump. So we have some bettas back here. They don't stay in those bowls very long, just kind of as they're being staged. I'm trying to breed them. I got some females right here, which are kind of fattening up a little bit. Some of them are huge. So that's kind of a tour of the fish room. I got some live food up here. Got some vinegar eels back there, and some brine shrimp that are hatching. One other feature here that is kind of in the vein of Tom's MacGyverism is this bucket right here. This is just another Rubbermaid Roughneck bucket, but it is filled with gravel and lava rock. So some of the water that comes up from the fresh water system comes across. I can control it with this valve, and then this just acts as a kind of a trickle filter. I don't know how well this is being shown, but just kind of acts as a trickle filter to go down through, and then it just drains right back into the sump as well. So that's a tour of the fish room. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks a lot.